Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to give it just another minute. Can I get a thumbs up if you all can hear us okay? We want to check our sound. Thanks, John and Kelly, for the thumbs up. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We are so excited to talk through the LiveREADI RFP today. We are going to take a moment to go through the LiveREADI offering, and then at the end, we will save some time for Q&A with you all. So if you have not yet been to the website, I would highly encourage you to do so under our LiveREADI update. We have a link to the information session. After this, we will post it onto our website. I would anticipate tomorrow morning that would be available. The RFP application is officially opened, and so that option is there. It will click and we'll show a test at the end, but you'll be able to click on there and submit your application digitally. And then we have the link to our RFP that we are going to be talking through today here. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. Got a few additional people in the waiting room that I'm going to allow in. Jeff and Andy, thanks for joining us. We are just getting ready to get started, and we are going to open up the LiveREADI RFP. Okay, so the LiveREADI RFP, this is one of our larger categories. This is a RFP for housing that fits our employer needs and attracts target population. And so we are anticipating all that are on this call are interested because they have a housing project. I would refer back to the original goals, which we've talked about many times, of what we are trying to accomplish with this READI grant. Encourage that you take a look at the original plan and that your project aligns with the goals of what we are trying to achieve with housing. And so just to give a background, we are utilizing between $10 and $15 million of the READI allocation that we received back in December of 2021, that award, and that we will be anticipating this is the first step in awarding housing projects. We will do an official RFP process for this, which is why you are all here today. We recognize that within the overall scope of 50 million, we anticipate this category not to exceed 15 million, and the max request per project is 5 million total. And there's additional information here within the objective and offering that I would encourage you to all look through. We are anticipating that these proposals will enhance and support employers with new attractive housing that will drive population growth. They will offer lifestyle amenities to residents. They will be affordable to employees of nearby employers and prioritize projects that are affordable to people making 80 to 100% of the area mean income, or AMI. It's very important that this enhances the livability and vibrancy of our regional downtowns. And we have several regional downtowns within our region that they're supporting quality of place, they're supporting walkability, they're supporting amenities for these residents. Projects will only be accepted in areas of Vanderburgh, Warwick, Gibson, and Posey County. And these funds will be used to offset the overall development and funding components of this. So we go into a couple of examples. Again, these funds are being offered by the American Rescue Plan Act. And so we must comply, as we mentioned before in an information session, this is federal funding, so we must comply with the ARPA component. That again stands for the American Rescue Plan Act, and so you'll hear us refer to that as ARPA. We would anticipate that the ready funding going into the project is no more than 20% of the overall project, and so we could anticipate project investments to range between 20-30 million plus for a housing development. There's also additional for the proposed development should be at minimum 3 stories high to achieve high density and high amenities. This can help bridge a gap in creating a sense of place in the region, and that it allows for creation of amenities within the area. And so if you've not had a chance to read that in full detail, we wanted to make sure we gave a high-level summary of what we are trying to accomplish here, because at the end of the day, these ready funds are a great opportunity for us to enhance our region and for us to meet our regional goals.
Okay, so I'll take it from here and we'll talk a little bit about general process. Won't spend too much time because I think this is where we've already kind of deep dived a little bit on the timelines, and then we'll pass it to Candace for the selection criteria. If we just look at the visual overall of our timeline, it kind of walks you through. We want to start by saying and kind of reiterating what we've said previously. Everyone at this point is in step 1. So if we're looking at the step 1 bucket, right now we're looking for the RFPs to be completed. We're trying to understand where projects currently sit, how they meet criteria, does it fit with all of our guidelines, and then we will start to understand if there is a ready piece to it that we can associate with ready and move forward into step 2, or if it needs to come into EREP's economic development bucket for us to work in some alternative way outside of ready. Once RFPs come in and we're able to meet and make some determination around those, if there is that ARPA component, then we will move you forward to step 2. In step 2 is when we will start talking to the stakeholders individually about the procurement process and what they will need to do. We'll introduce them more to the IEDC and EY process of how we're looking at the project and what that means from an ARPA standpoint. If at that point we determine in step 2 that ARPA does not meet at that time, we will continue to talk with the IEDC about alternative sources of funding and how we may continue to fund the project. If meets and we're able to move forward, I apologize, let me step back. In step 2 is also where we will visit with the stakeholders in detail the pre-submission checklist. That pre-submission checklist is also on our website and can be found there for your review. If the ARPA component meets and we're able to move you forward into step 3, we'll have talks of procurement at this time, and all of that will be completed. And this is where we'll start matching the goals of the READI project up against our Talent 2025 objectives, making sure that they meet the READI goals and that there is an ARPA component compatible that we can pull out to move the project further. If we're able to identify all 3 of these check marks, this is the point in time where the project will be put in front of our regional development authority for a final vote. Nothing is funded until this final vote occurs. So you will move through step 1, step 2, and most of step 3 without being funded at this point in time. And we'll make that determination when the final vote goes through our RDA. If it goes through the RDA for that final check and gets approved, you move into step 4. We'll start talking to you about ongoing compliance of your project or program. And at that point in time in step 4, you will be awarded. Candace, do you want to talk about selection criteria?
Yeah. So here's where we get into where the points come in. And so there are 50 points total. The largest chunk of points is helping us understand the building concept. So everything from how many units it'll be to how does it connect and integrate into the surrounding area. As Audrey mentioned, we're looking for projects that really connect. Walkability is important here. Creating a sense of place in each of our regions is how we want to use these funds, so that it is the project itself, it becomes an amenity that it can be used to attract and retain talent in our region for our major employers. So things like we'll want to understand the design and the materials that you'll be using. And if you have any information related to just how it connects and will be integrated into the area that it's going to be located would be really helpful here. Next, the developer experience. So is this a developer who has done a project like this before, and what does their experience look like? What does their team look like? Do they have experience in dealing with incentives from public sources? Things like that we will want to understand in detail. Financial capacity. This is a really important category to help us understand what some of the detail of the project looks like and where the funding is coming from. We want to fund projects that are going to move these goals forward, and the amenities and the connectivity, we know that those things can add cost, and that's why we know the incentives are needed. If this is a project that could finance itself through just private sources, then it doesn't need a ready award. So we want to understand that 20%, the 20% that Audrey mentioned is only 20% of the project is coming from ready sources. And then is the local community, whether that's city, county, TIF, whatever, is there a local or federal match component? That should be a 1-to-1 match. And then at least 60% of the capital for the project should be coming from private sources. That could be developer equity or debt, or if there's some other private source, we'll want to understand that as well. And then there are a bonus point that is available, and not really a bonus, but a point is available if you have already spoken to your preferred banking institution and they've already seen the plans and are generally supportive. We don't expect you to have gone through and have final construction financing in place because we know that this might be an important component of that, but knowing that you have at least begun that discussion with a local lender or with a lender. Next is employer need. So what are the nearby employers? Are these connected? Is this project connected to local employers nearby? And does it line up with our needs as a community trying to produce housing near those employers? On this category, if you have a letter of support from a local economic development organization or a major employer, that will earn a point here. And on roadblocks, we want to know what you've already overcome, as well as what roadblocks you see ahead. We want to know that you've thought through some of those, and those could range from anything from site acquisition to funding sources, lots of things that could come up here. So we want to know which ones you have already overcome and which ones you still see as coming in the future. And then finally, or not finally, but a 5-point category here is just the completeness, knowing that you've checked all the boxes and compiled the information that we've asked for. And then finally, an Arpa acknowledgement. And this will actually be the first question you see on the RFP response, is that you are acknowledging that you've reviewed that pre-submission checklist that Jenna referenced and have reviewed it in full. We know that there's a lot of compliance and work that will go into this incentive. And so we want to know that everybody is prepared for that. You don't need to be an Arpa expert, but you need to acknowledge that you've read the checklist and that you are willing to comply with the rules, and we'll help each project that moves forward with that, but acknowledge that you're prepared to take on that challenge. So from there, that covers the selection criteria. Anything else to add in terms of anything we've covered, or we open it up?
I think just one thing to add, when those that are interested in officially applying for the RFP, which I had shown earlier as a link on our website, that first question does ask Are you interested in moving forward or not? And some of you on this call today that may have submitted a project, you may find, I'm not interested in moving forward. We would still encourage you to submit that information to us because it just helps us understand what projects we can expect to hear from, and if there are ones that need a certain follow-up. It will take you from saying no to just filling out contact information. You bypass all of those middle steps. So again, it just helps us kind of capture and keep things on track. And those that are interested, when you click yes, that will then open up the full RFP for you to respond to. In section D, we do talk about the terms and conditions that just because we're submitting this RFP, the RDA is the ultimate decision makers. They reserve the right to reject any and all proposals, including making no award in this category. We will require the proposer to maintain a minimum of 5-year ownership once the project has been closed out. And then guidelines of what procurement does look like. And so we've got a link to what you can anticipate and understanding of the compliance for procurement at this point. With that, we will go to our website so you can start to see just an example of how the RFP will look. RFP response. And so there are several ways to get to it. If you go to the Ready tab, we have highlighted it at the very top of our page, as you can click directly into the LiveREADI RFP application. So that is one way that you are able to access that. A second way to access is if you're interested in continuing to read more about the LiveREADI RFP in general, I would encourage you to read the update. And there is a link as well to the LiveREADI RFP application. So these are opening today. They're available now. This is on a rolling basis, so there is no hard stop of these are all due on September 1st. That is not the case. So we could anticipate seeing applications as early as today, since the application is over, and these would continue to be accepted through December. This, as a reminder, this is competitive funding, and so we will be awarding those that meet our criteria, that meet the goals of what we're trying to achieve with our talent EVV, our community vision first. So here you can see we've got a lot of the same information in that PDF that you're very aware of. So most of this information should all be very familiar to you. It's the information that we've already gone through. And then at the bottom is the section of where you can start to enter in your information. So I'm just going to go ahead and say yes, that we are interested in moving forward. So you can see it takes us to the next tab where you would insert in your project information, and then continue on based on the questions of this RFP response. So I'll pause there, and we would be happy to open it up for questions. I know several of you probably have questions. So what we're going to do is we're going to monitor the participation function. And if you wouldn't mind raising your hand, and then we'll call on you to unmute. That way we do not have a flood of folks at one time, just to be respectful of everyone. And we will work to provide you with the best answer possible. So with that, I open it up for any questions. You just go ahead and use the hand raising feature. Wayne, are you physically raising your hand, Mr. Kinney?
I didn't know how to do it standing on my head or throwing something at the screen or something. So can you hear me?
Hey, that's okay. We can hear you. Yes.
Question for you, having not looked at the RFP, but looked at the documentation. What if we were submitting something and we had, and I'm making this number up, 90% of our information, but we were waiting for one more document to come in, but let's say we wanted to get in the queue and the only thing we didn't have is bank financing in place, or we didn't have the letter from the bank saying we had the funding. Should we go ahead and start the RFP and get 90% completed? Or should we wait until we have every piece of paper and then just hit the button? Is there a chance to edit it once we hit?
There's not necessarily a chance to edit it, but in that situation, I'd say just my email, this is Candace, my email is listed there. Just shoot me an email. If it really depends on what it is. If it is something that's, it's better if you have it all together so that, because we don't have that opportunity to edit. But if it's, something that's more, what's the right word? Not a required thing, but a nice to have, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? You can, if it's a requirement, I would wait until you have that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Are there any other questions? I can only see one additional person on the screen, so I'm not able to see. It doesn't look like other folks have their cameras turned on. I'm not able to see if you're physically raising your hands. If you're having trouble with the hand raising sign, you're welcome to use the chat as well. We'll keep it open for another minute or two, but if we won't have any additional questions, we'll go ahead and close out. So I'll pause here and see if there are additional questions. Hopefully by the non-questions, that means the RFP process has been fairly straightforward. We've been able to provide you with as much detail as we could in that document ahead of time. And we look forward to the responses that we receive. This is a great opportunity for our region. It's a great opportunity to connect key employee housing with our key employers to help build the vibrancies of all of our downtowns. And we are looking forward to the responses. So we will go ahead and close this out since I'm not seeing any additional questions. We appreciate your time today, the time that you've invested in this. We will have this recording available. And then Candace's contact information is available on the RFP as well if there are any additional follow-up questions that you would like to ask at a later time. But appreciate everyone's time today. I did see a chat just pop up. Oh, thank you, Kathy. Hope you have a great day. And we will hopefully be hearing from you all soon.